What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Stellar Lumens today. XLM. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, my friends. All right, so here we are sitting at about 35.26 cents right now. If we look at our daily RSI, we're finding support at the 35, which is not conventional for most charts, but it seems as though you do like to find support at this area, right? Found support here, found support there twice. A little bit below this area, a little bit above this area, but somewhere in this vicinity nonetheless, at least recently. And going back here time and time again, yeah. So finding support here, definitely something that is significant, relevant to your history. It could imply that that was your low there, and I think that it does imply that that was your low there at about 31.2 cents. I don't believe that you're going to go lower. I always like saying that in the beginning because people ask, could it go lower? If it goes lower, how much lower is it going to go? I don't think it goes lower. If it does go lower, if I am wrong and it does go lower, the lowest I could see you going is right around 30 cents, maybe 29 cents, something like that, right? You're at 35.2 cents now, though. I don't think you go lower. And another reason for that is generally also you do hit the 382. Off of a very strong move like this, you would hit the 382. But whenever you miss it like this, that's not a cause for concern. It's actually a cause for celebration. That's like a partial decline. There's so much buying pressure. There's so much attention on this, right? It couldn't even get down there. So the price moved up. It had a nice reaction. But you rejected the 236. So the ball is in the bear's court. I suppose you could go to the 382. It's possible. You're looking for a break above the 236. You want to get above 40.24 cents, okay, on a daily basis. Don't just get above it on a price action, like close above it. Daily closing basis, close above it, okay? But another thing that kind of would agree, or at least add to the perspective that this is the low, is that while you've been moving down, your volume has been dying off as well, okay? And generally speaking, regardless if you break down or if you break up, whenever your volume comes to an end, that just suggests that you're at the end of your consolidation phase. It doesn't mean that you're going to break out to the upside or downside. It just means you're going to break out. So when we break out, either way, we should see volume coming in, backing it up to agree with that, right? So I would expect, essentially what this volume is saying is that we would break out soon. We would break out soon. But it's also saying that as we move down, we've had less and less interest. There's been less and less volume coming in. If we were moving up and volume was dying off, that normally suggests a top. Well, what does moving down and volume dying off suggest? That should suggest the same thing, but a bottom is kind of what that suggests, right? So I think that we're there. This very much does look like a bull flag. If it is a bull flag, and I very much believe it to be a bull flag, from a low point to a high point here, let me get rid of the extensions. Low point to high point, if we move that over here, put it right there, right? Your measure move would take you all the way up to about $2.20. Looking really good for Stellar Lumens there. We're going to make sense out of that in a second too, and I'm going to give you a reference as well. High to low here, that's at your 1414, right at about $2.17 of this relative fib, so that's nice. Very common area to go to. Not only that, but if we take away this white line here, you found support at your 618 of this fib, right? Very bullish. Hit your 886, found support on the 618. Beautiful move, man. You're going to go, I think, at least to $1.54, right? At least there. This is your measure move all the way up to about 220, but you don't have to hit that. You could fall short of it, and if you were, 154 at least. You don't have to hit it. You could exceed it, right? You could go past it. 355, 356 could be your maximum. But personally, I think that this 220 area is a nice area for XLM. We go back even further. We take the overall high of the range that we had 2 cycles ago to the overall low here. And you can see that 2272 area lines up very well with the 1272 here as well. I'm sorry, the $2.20 area, the 1414 lines up with this 1272 area, my bad. And again, that 1618 here kind of lines up with this 1414, so that $354 area could be the max that you see by the end of this move, but I don't think it is. This move, by the way, if it were to happen at the same pace as this last move, we would see this occur by the end of January. So these are end of January targets, right? I know a lot of you have probably seen these videos over the past week, and you're very aware of this, but that's just in case anybody else is new watching this. And you know, every time I make these videos, I always get somebody who asks, "But when?" You say where, but when? And then if I say when and where every single video, I get the people who are like, "You always say the same stuff," and it's like, I just can't make anybody happy. So I'm gonna do my best to make all of you mad, I guess. That's I don't know, but I do think that it's going to move up to about $2.20. We're at 35 cents now. Let's make more sense out of that. How can we do that? I suppose We could look at the Bitcoin chart, XLM versus BTC. I do want to look at the ribbons real quick. I know you guys always appreciate the ribbons, right? First off, they're visually appealing, but second off, there's other appealing things about them, right? You've got the monthly ribbon cross here, okay? With last month's cross, it's confirmed, but this month as well. I think that's nice. Pulling back here, finding support at these areas, it looks good, right? Just chilling. Weekly, beautiful, beautiful. In fact, the weekly, you could go down a little bit more even and you'd still be fine, but it's a nice look as well. 3-day, I like that look. That's a bullish look. Daily, also a bullish look. The fact that you're holding above the ribbon, you're not really getting above it on a or below it on a closing basis is nice. But the fact that you rejected it here is a little concerning. I'd like to see you get above, really get above 40 cents, right? And I think we said that earlier too. So the ribbon overall looking good, but get above 40 cents. Do it soon. Do it soon. I want to look at the 4-hour real quick before we do XLM BTC. Yeah, the 4-hour looks set, looks ready to go. Yeah. Lower lows. I guess you have lower lows in the price, to be fair, with the lower lows in the RSI. Maybe this one does look a little bit more bearish than some of them do. If there were any cryptos, if there was a crypto today that I've looked at that looks the most compelling to see a lower relative low, it would be this one. But even if it does, those upside targets that I've mentioned, they're still the same, right? That doesn't change. It just, instead of breaking out now or tomorrow, it breaks out next week or 4 days from now. You know what I mean? It's not, you can go down there and come back up in the same day, I promise, right? It's not going to be a terrible thing if you do move lower. But I don't think you do, because a lot of coins that do look like this, they do look like they want to move up. This one looks slightly different to the downside, I would say, because it does have slightly lower lows, and you have the lower lows here. But I don't know, man. I think you're fine overall. I don't think that you'll move lower. Relative low to high here, 618. I mean, yeah. If you were to move lower from where you are now, I doubt you move lower than this low, to be completely fair. 33 to 32 cents, something like that. So all in all, definitely expecting you to move up in a short amount of time. Which is good for the ribbons here, right? Because that would imply that you're avoiding a daily cross, you're avoiding the 3-day cross, and then you're just getting continuation on all the other time frames too. So let's look at XLM versus BTC and see if we can make sense out of this $2.20 target, right? That's kind of the idea here. XLM BTC. And yes, we can do that. We can make sense out of it using this, right? Doing math. Let's see. So this is really bullish. Okay, you found resistance. You can just see on this weekly time frame, this green line is your 123 moving average, and at times you disrespect it, but even here in the disrespect, a little bit of support consolidated around it, a little bit of resistance consolidated around it, broke up, right? When you break above it, good times, okay? When you're below, it's actually a good time to buy, at least right there it was. Maybe not this time over here, or maybe because it just moved sideways. Found support on it here. Resistance there, a little bit of disrespect, kind of found support, resistance, 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 and then now you broke above it and you found support on it right here. So I think that that's significant. Looking back in time, the fact that we found resistance on this line going back in time, I think finding support, and I got to be honest, there's other charts too that find support specifically versus Bitcoin on their weekly charts. Most of the time, this 123, the green line, I find significance on it on 4-hour time frames, and that's, you know, I mean, you can see that here, and on daily time frames the most. Sometimes weekly, sometimes other time frames, right? You never know. Every chart's different. But with Bitcoin specifically, I've noticed a handful of coins that do respect with their Bitcoin pairs, the 123 moving average, the green line, the 123 moving average on the weekly time frames. So finding support there, it's not just XLM, right? This is something that I've noticed on a few different cryptos. I would expect you go higher, all that to say, right? Weekly RSI, bullish as hell. Some of the strongest readings you've seen ever, literally the strongest readings you've ever seen versus Bitcoin. I would suspect that you probably don't stop here if you're producing the strongest readings you've ever seen, right? And you're finding support here. I mean, the last time that you did something like this in a similar area, you found support down here, similar area. You had to run up, not as immaculate, but now you're finding support here, similar area that you found support here. I mean, probably move up, man. You probably move up. Looking left, this area, resistance, a lot of resistance there, resistance, support going back. Obviously, this peak here, this would, come on now, that peak there, resistance, resistance, a little bit less, something in that area. So you're at, and this is where I think your next move is, right? This is probably your end of January area that you'd go to. Just looking at it roughly, if we were to take a relative high to low here, let's see if we can project out, okay? Yeah, 1618, 2272, that could make sense, especially if on XLM, we're expecting from this relative high to this relative low. Yeah, if 220, that'd be deeper extensions as well. So this is a smaller fib, so that's okay. XLM BTC 1886 2272. It's possible we could see that. What would that be? You know, anything from 160% versus 300%. Okay, 160 versus 300. If I'm expecting XLM to grow to 220 or thereabout at least, right? And not at least, $1.54 at least, to be clear. I like to say that, I want to say that because every time I talk about 220 or 240 or 250, whatever the target might be, people get caught on that high number. And the reality is every single video I talk about $1.54 too. That should be considered just as much, because if you think 220, 220, 240, 240, it's going to hit $2 at least every single video, and then it hits $1.60, and we had been talking about the minimum target being $1.54, it hits $1.60, and then it turns around from there, right? You're going to attach yourself to these high expectations and then leave yourself vulnerable to the potential of selling the actual top, which could come in at lower prices, right? You have to be expect everything, right? Don't sell yourself short. That sucks too, but don't wait for a specific target. You can have these targets in mind going forward, but we need to be aware of what the environment is whenever we're at these targets, right? If it's the end of January, Trump's getting inaugurated, we get a lot of bullish news for crypto, and we're only at $1.54, odds are we're probably not going to move up to $2 or $2.20, right? Or if we do, it'd be a very quick move, right? But just a little food for thought there. Okay, so if we were to move to $2.20, cut to the chase, 519% is what that move would be from the current price, right? Give or take the half a cent we might have moved since I went on that whole ramble there. XLM BTC here would gain at the maximum, and kind of where I would think it would go, anywhere from 300% to 200%. So 300 to 200%. Okay. BTC, oh, that's not, stay on page. I think BTC will go at least probably like to 130K. The true target I have is 123 to 142, but I'm going to say 130. So that's 37.9%. Let's just say 40%. Let's round it. Let's just say 40%. Okay. 40% up. XLM versus BTC, 200% up. So that would imply XLM moves up 240%. 240% would be here at about $1.21. So that to me doesn't make as much sense, right? Maybe we see Bitcoin go to higher prices, or maybe XLM BTC goes to higher prices. If it was 290%, let's just say 300%. 300% would be 340%, and then 340% would bring us to our minimum target, which is at about $1.55. Okay, and that's all if Bitcoin's at about 131K. If Bitcoin goes to 142K, which that's the maximum kind of area, I mean, not the maximum, but that's of my like truly expected maximum, I would say 140. That's a 48% move, 49. Let's just say 50. I don't want to round up because I don't think it goes too much higher than that. Let's just see. What would 142 get us? Like something like that. That's pretty close to 50. We could say 50%. Okay, so if Bitcoin moved up 50%, this thing moves up 300%, and that means this thing could move up, right, 350%, which is only at $1.60. So this versus Bitcoin is less of a compelling argument for XLM going to 220. Okay, and don't get discouraged. 35 cents to $1.60, $1.50, $1.20. That's phenomenal in a month's time, right? That's phenomenal, and it's very possible that you could stop there, right, from a high to a low, because we've been getting $1.20 to $1.60. Look at that, $1.60 at your 2272, $1.20 at your 1886, and I mean, oftentimes with these smaller fibs, you do hit the secondary target zone. You don't stop at the primary target zone. So that there's a lot of sense to be made out of that, guys. I don't know how accurate this is, right? Because it's very speculative as to where you will be on the Bitcoin chart versus Bitcoin, right? I mean, if you were to see a true like bull flag kind of extension out of here, or measure move out, that would put you all the way at 0.0000 0.015 of a Bitcoin, right? And that'd still be, you know, even that, I can't see you growing much more than that versus Bitcoin. I mean, I can over time, but just by the end of January, I can't. So genuinely, guys, XLM might not see 220. A lot of things make sense for it to go to 220. A lot of things do, or higher. So it's very possible it could. But be aware, there's actually, I think, with this XLM BTC chart, and I'm glad we're doing this, right? Because there's, again, right there, that measure move takes you up to this area of resistance right here. I wonder what it is on an overall perspective if we take the high to low. High to low. That was not the high. That's the high. That's right at your golden ratio too, man. I can't see you going up more than that. So 330%, if Bitcoin's at 142%, that's 380% growth, right? 380% growth for XLM. It's like $1.70 at the most. So unfortunately, my friends, and I wasn't expecting this, but I am going to move my targets down, right? I think that the maximum potential should be considered to be about 220 to 250, somewhere in that zone. The expected area, I would say, is actually more likely to be around $1.70 to $1.50. And then the minimum expected zone would then be $1.20 to $1.30. But fret not, man. That's still phenomenal gains in a very short amount of time. That's still outperforming most of the market. But yeah, that's not as mouthwatering as 220, right? I can feel the groping, and or not that was the griping. That's what I was trying to say. I can't feel the groping, man. That was bad. I could have ended the video without that, but I had to say it. I meant to say griping, damn it. I can't feel. There's none of that's going on. I swear. XLM's at 35 cents, y'all. It's going to move up soon, and I think by the end of January, we'll be at prices more likely around $1.50 to $1.70. And you're in the middle of a bull flag right now. You're going to break out soon. That the area that you should watch, the price that you should watch to get excited for, you're at 35 cents now, would be 40 cents. You close above 40 cents, that to me would be an indication that you're getting things going, probably on a move similar to this, all the way up to what we know now to be about $1.50 to $1.70, right? Unless you go all the way up to $2, $2.20, $2.50, somewhere in there, and fulfill this true measure move of this bull flag. But, you know, anything's possible. But I got nothing else for you guys. If you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.